Good afternoon. This is Ron Brown. It's June 13th, 2026. I've been away a couple of weeks. I had hip replacement surgery 10 days ago. I'm getting along fine. I'm not even using a cane or a walker at this point, so it went very smoothly. Anyway, the second quarter add-on is updated and uploaded. It says you need to delete your warehouse and chart views. You really don't need to this time because I've just made minor changes, so just ignore that. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you a video with some scans or a scan about volume price analysis, volume spread analysis, however you want to refer to it, and then using the Wyckoff volume indicators along with VPA and trends that I've put into HCSI. As always, the market is your teacher, and I'm going to read this couple of sentences here. Any stock index or ETF mentioned in this presentation is not a recommendation to buy or sell. All trading strategies are used at your own risk. So what I want to show you today is this filter, and if you haven't installed the add-on recently, you may not have this, but you should, under my name, Ron Brown Top-Down Process Scans 2026 Warehouse Views, you're going to find a folder called Ron's Working Scans. And I'm going to go into the number one folder, VPA Bullish Today Wyckoff Scans. Now, why do I call it that? Well, because it combines the output from the user smart groups that I've created with both VPA and Wyckoff scans. I'll show you the filter. It's a little bit complicated, but I want to give you an idea of what I'm doing here. So these group member field names here require that the stocks that appear have to be a group member of one of these Wyckoff groups. Increased price spreads, strong volume, wider spreads on lower volume, lack of supply, presence of demand, and so on. These are all bullish Wyckoff scans. Now, some are more bullish than others, but I just wanted to include all of them in this filter. And then down here, the VPA flags, these are bullish VPA flags that I put in, and if any of these conditions are met along with one of the Wyckoff group's results, then the stocks are going to appear in this view. Now, as I scroll down this filter, you can see that there are a lot of requirements, is what I'm trying to say. And there has to be at least 500,000 in volume. They have to be assigned to a group, and there has to be a VPA signal. So one of these signals has to occur along with the Wyckoff volume information. So I'll just click on OK, close this, and you can see as of today, and since I'm doing this on a weekend, I really can't show you the intraday, but if you try this on Monday or whenever you get on Thinkorswim and HCSI, if you click on this bullish today number one, you can also click on intraday. So this is because what's going to happen. It's going to show you the stocks that come up on the end of day filter. These same stocks are transferred over to the intraday filter. Let me show you this here. 573 on end of day today. And on Monday, these 573 will be the same stocks. But the combo is going to drive the stocks that are surviving these signals to the top of the list. Totally different combo ranking. So let's go back to the end of day. And I'll take a look at the combo ranking. VPA trends, well, sorry about that. VPA trends up, trend percentage, momentum, percent EMA, 52-week acceleration is what I called the combo. It's a mouthful, I know, but I'm looking for stocks that are well off their 52-week lows, trading near the top of their 52-week range, closed above the 18, 20, and 200 and 100-day exponential moving averages near the top. Close to open, I want strong EMA fan trend. Notice these are weighted differently. So I put most emphasis on stocks that have risen off their 52-week lows and trading near the top of their 52-week high on the end of day. So when I bring up a stock, it's going to bring up a stock like this because it's really made a nice move already. Now let's do a little analysis here based upon what I have in this view. You can see the raw combo is pointed all the way up. Earnings are due, volume high, wide, and very high. So if I bring the chart up, if I point to the volume high, wide, and very high, these are the same fields that are shown in the warehouse view. Now this sentiment tells you the sentiment of the current setup, and it's a bullish sentiment on this stock. This stock has risen quite a bit, but it's still relatively inexpensive compared to a lot of the stocks we see that are being chased right now. Its industry group is semiconductor devices. Group ranks 98th, sectors tech, and there are 68 stocks in this group. And you can see that the green is the strength versus the industry group, and the cyan is the actual industry group. So this stock, as of the last 2 days, it's pointed up here, it's outperforming its industry group. Now, maybe a little bit late to chase it right now, but maybe not. These stocks have a tendency to keep going. Now, I'm going to go back one day, click on that, and then we're going to look over here at what was on the chart. Volume was high, the spread was wide, and the close was very high. Sentiment bullish. These are being pulled out of the filter, the Wyckoff volume numbers. So same sentiment the prior day. How about this day here? Volume was above average. If I look down here, I can see it's above the moving average line. The spread was wide, the spread of the whole bar, and the close was mid. You can see it closed in the mid, and there is no sentiment indicator here. The sentiment indicators were put in several years ago, and I can't really tell you the truth, remember how we decided upon them, but yeah, they seem to work really well. Now let's look at this same stock. Let's go clear down here, and you can see if I put the crosshair on right here. Here's the cross, but let's go to the day before and let's see what it said. Looking here on the Wyckoff volume, above average volume, the spread was above average, and the close was very high. There was no sentiment indicated there. It's too early to tell because these bars over here were negative and it hasn't changed to positive. Now I go to the next day here. Volume was low. See, it's below this moving average here. Spread was above average though, and the close was very high. Let's go one more day. Okay, now here we have volume was actually less than average because it was slightly below the average, but the spread was wide, the close was very high, and the sentiment was bullish. And what else happened here? We had an effort to rise. So on this day, this stock went from essentially neutral without sentiment to a bullish sentiment, and this is one day after the 3 crossed the 6. So even though the volume was less than average, it wasn't low, it was just less than average because of the effort to rise VPA flag and the other factors surrounding it. This would be the third up day. It suddenly fell into the sentiment bullish, and it took off from there. Looking further, you can see that the fan was in place here. Here's the 200, the 100, the 50, and the 18, and the 3 is above the 6. So everything is moving in the right direction to tell us that there is institutional involvement. Now, we didn't get a volume pocket pivot until right here, and that is what, 4 days later than the actual sentiment turning to bullish. But all the other factors were in place, and it took off, and it really hasn't looked back. We had a little shakeout up here, and we get a transfer of ownership. The stock, this circle right here, it means that some of the buyers were being sold into. That's a transfer of ownership. It isn't necessarily bearish, but that red circle indicates that money was transferring hands, and then what happened? We had a 2-day pullback, but the 3 didn't go below the 6, and it just kept moving up, and then it went into a sideways choppy pattern here, or this could be considered reaccumulation. And let me go back here to this. There's no sentiment indicator on here, or no sentiment indicator on this red bar, none here. Then suddenly it's bullish again, and this would have been Thursday's action. Now, I'm doing this on the fly. I haven't looked at this stock before. I just went to the top of the list. Let's do one more, and then I'm going to show you some other things here. So this is a familiar name, Amcor Technology. It's got a RS of 97. You can see it crossed over a couple of days ago. Semiconductor manufacturing. So it has an effort to rise. Here are the Wyckoff volume indicators. Here's the effort to rise here. And the sentiment's over here. You can see all of these here near the top have VPA flag sentiment as bullish. So let's look at this stock. Now this is a lot choppier. It's not nearly as smooth as the prior stock. And this I don't like because there's so much indecision in here, and it's really not made any headway. But let's look at the current information here. High, wide, very high sentiment is bullish here, and there is a volume pocket pivot. Now, maybe it's going to break past. It did break past resistance right here and here. So maybe it's going to go because there's heavy volume coming in. So this should definitely be in your watch list on Monday if you're interested in getting into some of these stocks. But the fan's in place. This has been chopped. You can see the 3-6 chop easier if you go down here and look at this. By the way, the charts I'm using, I should have pointed this out. I did this in my last video, the VPA sequential chart analysis. I am using this chart right here. Why? Because it has these histograms, and I can see if the stock is in a short-term trend, medium-term trend, or here's short-term, I'm sorry, micro, short, and intermediate-term trends. It has stayed in this intermediate-term trend all through this chop, but been very frustrating for shareholders in here. Now, going back here, you can see that on this day right here, there is a test, and you can also see there was bullish sentiment. This generates a bullish sentiment. And the 3 was crossing the 6 on the same day, and this stock made a really nice move from, let's say, the 47 area up to the 80 area, and then the chop began. There was a negative VPA flag here. High volume down bar after up move on high volume indicates weakness, and it tried to recover. It did recover, but it just didn't go anywhere. Now looking up here, this is the industry group, and this was not as strong as the industry group. It is not. It's performing along with the industry group now, somewhere in that neighborhood, but throughout this period right here, it was underperforming its industry group because this green line is going down, and here's the industry group itself. Okay, these are all familiar names here. State Technology, this is a stock that I doubt if many of us or any of us are. If you're in, great. You made a lot of money. But it comes up because it's in the Wyckoff filters, and also it's in a VPA filter. It has to have a VPA signal. I'm clicking on here, and look at the volume is less than average. This just shows you that even though a stock with less than average volume can go up. Why? Because there's more demand than supply. Spread is wide, the close is very high, sentiment is bullish. It can be really low volume on a stock, and I'm not saying this is really low, but it's low relative to the 90-day moving average. But there's more demand than supply, which gives us this effort to rise. Now, the prior day, you can see there was no sentiment indicator there. Let's go back here. Here, the sentiment's bullish on this effort to rise. How about right here? Sentiment is bullish here on a strength seen returning after a downtrend. Now, I don't want to beat this to death. I'm just showing you how much information you can get out of these views. I want to show you something else. Let's say you're interested in looking for stocks that may be coming up here, but you don't want extended stocks. So what I'm going to do, I'll click on, I'm going to stay in this warehouse view, but rather than all securities, I'm going to go down to my user smart groups, and I have, and you should have, these in your user smart group. So I have contextual trends that are related to where a stock is in comparison to its moving average, or relative to its moving averages. So let's say I'm looking for stocks with contextual trends down. I'm sorry, that's ETFs. And I'm looking for stocks that have had maybe a potential pullback. So I'm a micro trend down. Now, what's a micro trend down? Let me bring up this stock right here. A micro trend down means that the 3 has fallen below the 6. If you look at this column right here, this is the days since the 3 crossed the 6. 6 days ago, it crossed down at this point right here. So by using this bullish today Wyckoff scans in conjunction with a micro trend down, I'm looking for stocks that have just pulled back and maybe going up again. So if we click on this here, you can see right there on the day, this day, the sentiment is neutral, less than average volume, spreads above average, closes very high. But the sentiment is neutral. Let's look at the next day. Sentiment is bullish, closes, it says at mid, that doesn't seem correct. Oh, I was covering up part of the candle, no wonder. Yes, that's correct. Closes at mid, spreads above average, volume is low. So this is reaccumulation coming in. You can see this histogram is starting to turn up here, but buyers are stepping in. Now, this is only a $12 stock. Maybe it's worth pursuing on Monday. Let's look at NetApp. Same thing. This stock has had a nice run up. It's pulled back, and we're seeing bullish sentiment now here with a test here and a test here and a confirmation of this text right here. Low volume bar test and up bar closing thereafter. The high confirms strength. Strength seen returning after a downtrend. And you can see the 3 is still below the 6. But we're getting all of this information from this scan. Here's low, wide, high. Not a bad setup. So this is worth looking at on Monday also. How about this one? I'm doing this on the fly. I haven't prearranged anything. Okay, here we go. Volume right here, less than average. Spread is below average. Close is very high. And sentiment is bullish because we have an up bar closing near its high. This confirms return of strength. These VPA indicators are working. Here's a volume pocket pivot here. Notice that the 3 is getting ready to surpass the 6. Taking this a little bit further, and you can come in here and play with this and choose what you want to choose. But let's go all the way down to primary trend down. The fan is down. These are common stocks. So look at there's 103 of them. But with the combo, you can see over here, here's the VPA signals. These relative strength rankings are generally very poor, but we're just looking here at the stocks, volume, spread, and close, and seeing what the VPA signal is. So Visla Silver Corp. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but you can see that looking at the primary trend down, fan down, common stocks that are starting to see some accumulation. This is a stock that's really not going anywhere right now, but you can see signs of accumulation here in several VPA flags. You got a resistance, overhead resistance here and here, back to here. It may not go anywhere, but if you're a true bottom fisher, you can look at these areas. Let's look at, here's a name I know, GPN. You can see the fan is down here. That's why it's in the primary trend down. It sold off on this day. Sentiment is neutral, as you can see, but there is strength seen return. We're returning after a downtrend. High volume adds to strength. So above average volume here. And then here's the confirmation yesterday. But boy, there's all kinds of resistance on this stock. I'm just pointing out that this is a powerful combination using the bullish today and then going into these other trend views. Now, if you're looking for if you want to look for the strong stocks, go to the primary trend up, fan up, common stocks. These are, you're going to find some of the best stocks here based upon momentum and so on. And I think I looked at that one already. Now in the rest of this video, I want to do something kind of fun here. I'm still messing around with AI, learning to use it a little bit. Not too much. I haven't had time to really get involved, but I'm going to bring Claude up. And I don't want to plan a day trip. But here's something I did the other day just for fun. Wyckoff VSA stock analysis. And what I did is I asked, I just, well, let me bring the other screen up here. It's easier to, here it is right here. What I did is I was using this VPA bullish today intraday, and I sorted on raw combo, and you can see that it was the 10th, and the time was at 12:33 p.m. And I just noticed there was some discrepancy on the intraday time. Anyway, I'll check this next week and make sure everything's okay. But I just want to point out how this information is can be used with VP. So this is the Snagit image that I pasted into Claude, and I asked Claude which of these stocks, based upon Wyckoff VSA principles, have the most potential for gains in the future. And all I did was show this image. I mean, that I just showed you. No more. It didn't show any chart or anything. Just the information that is contained in this image. So what it did is AI looked at this, found the symbol, and this information here, and then I'm sure it went out to other portions of the internet, the database, and pulled in more information. But this is what it came back with. Based upon core Wyckoff VSA principles, volume relative to spread, closing position, trend alignment, and signal type, here's my breakdown. Top tier strongest setups, TMCI. It's a small stock. This is the best overall according to Claude's analysis. Low volume plus widespread plus high close equals classic no supply bar. Signal test for supply, the gold standard Wyckoff test confirming supply has been absorbed. All three BF best fit VPA trends, long, medium, short. The only stock with full trend alignment, relative strength rate 96. This is a textbook Wyckoff accumulation test setup ready to advance. And then number 2 was Rackspace technology. I'm not going to read all this, but you can if you want. But here is secondary, solid, but watch closely. Apps is, and this should have been, apps has been coming up, should have been purchased. But anyway, it tells you what to avoid or caution, and summary ranking TMCI, RXT, West, and apps. So let's just take a look at those. I'm going to drag this over to my other screen so I have a reference. And I'm going to look at these stocks. So I'm going to the warehouse. Need to go to a different view. I'm just going to I'll go down here to Ron's daily scans and go to scorecard, because that lets all the stocks in that have groups. I need to get out of primary trend and go into all securities. And I'm going to TMCI. Darn it. Terrible typist. Okay, so you can see that it's not so good on Friday, but this was the day that this was the 10th. If you look down here in the corner, this analysis from Claude was on the 10th, and this was the nice setup here. Now you can see the next day it pulled back, and then yesterday it opened here, and it did try to break out, but it's running into resistance. But this information here was being analyzed, and the emphasis was on these two bars right here. It hasn't followed through yet, but it may. It's early. I'll follow that, and I'll follow up on another report. Now let's look at RXT. I'll just do it here. And this is the one that says no supply, test an uptrend right here. And it tried to move up. It did move up for a couple of days, and it was rejected right here. But that was the second favorite stocks. Now we're going to look at West. I've looked at TMCI, but I haven't looked at these other ones. Now here's West. Effort to rise, strong close right here. It went up. It's wanted to go, but it hasn't followed through yet. But here's a nice reaccumulation here after this move up. It didn't go down much. Buyers stepping back into it, and then finally APPS. And this was the 10th right here. This is the 10th, 11th, 12th. Okay, right here. So what's it saying about apps? All trends up, but mid-close is a yellow flag. So on this day right here, this mid-close was a yellow flag. I'm sorry. It's just telling us to be cautious. Anyway, I'm just experimenting with this. I think there's value in this. I don't know if I can make any money doing it, but I'm certainly going to explore this more and more as I go along. What it does is it helps you focus on certain aspects of stocks, and you may not look at them in a certain way, but when you get the analysis back, it helps determine what the positives and negatives are. Now, if you use a longer chart, it's going to, if I used a chart and I didn't use a chart, that's what's so amazing about this. I just used that information, and rather than a chart, but in the chart analysis, it really looks at everything in a chart and bases the output on what it sees over multiple days, however long, however much information is in the chart. So it's really kind of fascinating. But this was just an experiment to see what kind of information I would get back by looking only at a warehouse view. And once again, here is this view. So it just took this information into account. Maybe it looked at charts elsewhere on the internet. I really don't know. But it's just fascinating to me that it can come back with this analysis. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I'll try to put out a video weekly, not saying that I'm going to positively. Depends on how I feel, and I've still got the myeloma issue to deal with. I may have to go back into the med center in Omaha for 15 days. I don't want to burden you with my medical issues. I've been fighting this for so long, but there's a new treatment they want me to try. The other one really isn't working anymore. So anyway, I feel great. I've got energy, and that's really what counts at this point. Thank you for listening.